Thank you very much. You know, as you progress in age, you accumulate titles, some of them more important than others. I'm very, very happy to be here today joining an excellent group of speakers, both here and online. It's wonderful to meet them in person. So after we've had those introductions, time is short for a very interesting discussion. So I'd like to invite the speakers to have 3 minutes in which to present some of their main ideas and their main messages that they want to send to the audience. And I'll start with Arjan, please.
Thank you, Alexandru. And I'll try to win some time for you. I'll give some context about the FLECS program, which I'm responsible for. It's a public-private partnership aimed at developing knowledge and stimulating innovations in order to strengthen the digital resilience of the offshore wind program of the Netherlands. And we do that by bringing together the industry partners, both from the energy sector and the cybersecurity industry, the government, and science. And we have 5 functions. We focus on policy advice. We're independent, and we can advise independently. We try to build a community where people get to know one another. I'll come back to that. And of course, we have a research and innovation program. We try to stimulate the human capital development and mobilize funding in order to fund the research and innovations. And we started about 3 years ago, and we first focused on bringing together all the industry partners because when we focus on the asset owners of the wind farms and the turbine producers, Siemens Energy and Vestas specifically, that we have the core players. And what we did is try to stimulate a conversation and build up towards a shared understanding of what we're up to. And what we see is that by focusing first on the industry partners, there is a community of trust now. And we have initiated a first joint exercise, which was very realistically and very well received. And we're actually now translating the outcomes of these more practical approach into our research and innovation program. And that's the key of our program.
Thank you very much. Rolands, please.
Yeah, thank you for inviting for this conference again. I think there was a very good speech from Ukrainian side, and from this speech I can tell that the diversification and decentralization today is almost like synonyms for security of supply and resilience. And wind power, of course, is a very important component here, because wind power diversifies our generation and it also decentralizes our generation portfolio. And I have a vision that one day I can say, I don't care if it's sunny, windy, rainy, or cold outside, we still have a good, affordable energy sources available here. Because today in Latvia, the only missing component actually is wind. We have good thermal power plants, we have good hydropower plants, we have quite a lot of sun already, but the wind is still missing, and wind is catching up, and I hope that in the coming years, this vision which I just described will have in full bloom. So in general, with this I can say that the wind is very important for security of supply, for resilience. But for TSOs, it's additional challenge as well. And one of the challenges is that new generation, wind, solar, it's not it's easy dispatchable, so it's less controllable. It's decentralized, so you have to manage the system. And this management of the system becomes more and more complicated, and it's more and more IT-based. So you cannot manually anymore manage the system how it was before with big centralized power plants. These days, you need more decentralized system with more IT solutions which reacts automatically on changes into the system. And this, of course, creates additional risks, and one of those risks is cybersecurity risk. So it means that we don't have to invest only in IT solutions, we also have to invest in protection so that these IT solutions is protected from the outside and also very well managed inside, because the risk is not only from the outside, the technical failures actually most commonly happen from inside, even today, and from outside. And therefore, the good IT management, the good cybersecurity level is very, very important. But not ending with this, it's only not about TSOs. The TSO need to manage very well the cybersecurity. It's also about the producers, also about the wind producers, because as we saw it before, the attack can be directed not only on TSO, but also to those who are connected to TSOs. For example, we had an incident in Poland in December where there was hackers attacked the generation units, the distribution system units. So in that way, you can affect also the whole system by this type of attacks. Therefore, more and more attention will be also on the connection side, and there will be more and more requirements from TSOs to those who are connected to the grid. So additional tasks, challenges, but we have to work together with this. TSOs with generation units and wind power plants, of course, is part of that.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite the audience to notice what a diversity of stakeholders we have here in the panel. They all come from different sides of the industry. I'd like to switch over to the online and to invite Sergii Nazarenko to present his 3-minute message.
Thank you, colleague, for the opportunity to exchange our opinions on this during this very important meeting. I'm the head of the Office for Identification and Countering Threats. It's an analytical division of Ukrenergo, National Power Grid Operators. And this office, my office, is responsible for collecting, gathering, and analyzing the information about all type of threats and technical, economical, military, and so on. And we provide the measures about risk assessment, risk mitigation, and also we provide the information about different types of national entities responsible for critical infrastructure protection. The topic of protection, the generation and transmission facilities is the most important now, not only in Ukraine, but in whole Europe and maybe in whole world, because we have big vulnerabilities in energy sector, and during last periods we see the blackout in Spain, we see the war in Persian Gulf, and so on, so on. We have a big threats, and we should forecast these threats and should develop a constant measure how to counteract, how to maintain these threats, how to maintain the stability of energy system. And analyzing the current situation, I should say that the main targets for Ukrainian energy system and for European energy systems are the same. First of all, it's ensuring the stability and security of energy supply, decarbonization of energy sector, increasing the power system flexibility, and reducing the cost of electricity for consumers. It's a very hard task for all of us, but these goals require a significant investment in the grid and in the generation facility. But I think the most important in our time, it's development a realistic strategy how the energy system and systems should develop together, because we need to combine the protection of energy system and reducing the cost of electricity for consumers. In this way, it's very relevant the Ukrainian experience, how to act during crisis scenarios. I should underline that we act not only, we speak not only about military threats. Ukrainian energy system also act under the condition of natural threats, hybrid threats, different types of cyber threats, technical threats, and so on, so on. International also, informational. It's very important to create a realistic algorithm, how to counteract these threats and how to coordinate our action. Because any country have a possibility to counter all kinds of threats simultaneously. We need to have a great cooperation in this way. If we speak about our targets, our goals, I mean energy system of Ukraine, what needs to be done? We need to construct a distributed generation facility up to 3 gigawatts based on gas, biomass, biogas, renewable energy resources. And this generation facility should maintain critical infrastructure facilities situated on territorial communities during different types of threats. Also, we need to maintain a highly maneuverable generation capacity up to 2 gigawatts to ensure the balancing of power system. It's also very big task for us because now maneuverable capacity based mostly on the gas technologies. Also, one of the biggest challenge for us is implementing an energy storage capacity up to 2 gigawatts, including the combination of this capacity with renewable energy sources. And also we need to reconstruct DSO networks and TSOs networks. It's also very big challenge, not only for Ukrenergo, but for biggest part of European TSO. We have a great dependence on supplying the high voltage equipment, for example, from China. It's also very big challenge for Ukraine, for Europe.
Excuse me, if you could conclude your introductory remark.
Okay, so if we speak about wind turbine, wind power, for us it's also very important thing, and for our approach, we have to install about 6 gigawatt of wind turbine in Ukrainian power grid. So it's a very briefly about current situation, and I think this challenge are very common for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Morten, please.
Thank you so much. I'm representing Kongsberg, which is a Norwegian company, and we maybe have a little bit, like you said, we have a diverse panel here, and based on our 50 years of experience with surveillance of the maritime domain, and everything from the seabed and outer space, and the different stakeholders that we are involved in from the governmental side, being coastal administration, coast guards, navy, operators of energy in like wind parks, offshore rigs, and pipelines. We are very much interested in seeing, based on our experience, how we can coexist to protect our critical infrastructure, sharing data, and also sharing experience when it comes to cybersecurity. This is big tasks, and it's not very easy to implement, but we see that coexistence is maybe a word that we are very much of interest for us based on the different experiences we have with the different stakeholders. And yeah, I think that will be my short introduction now in this panel discussion.
Thank you very much. Norbert, please.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the micro. Happy to be here. I would like to start with an idea, and referring also to your speech. When a foreign country is attacking the infrastructure of another country, it goes in hand with the declaration of war. If another country is attacking by cyber your infrastructure, it's not going ahead with saying this is a declaration of war. And nevertheless, the physical result could be totally the same. So just one idea of what we are talking here. Another idea where cybersecurity came into my mind. I heard a speech about the German Federal Bank being attacked on an hourly basis 700,000 times. Yeah. So it's immense what kind of firewalls, etc., really have to be built up to get all these attacks handled. And this is all about finding the most weakest point to enter into a system. And to be honest, I would say in most of the times it's really us, it's still the human being. I will give you an example for that. When you were attacked by Russia in 22, we were attacked by ransom software, and our business was stopped for 2-3 weeks because they really were successful. And of course, as it came out, we found out the unlucky individual in our company who had supplied all his credentials to a third party who was unfortunately this hacker, and let the company in and develop its story. So just to also say that this cybersecurity works a lot, so that machines are defending, our infrastructure works against these attacks, is working big time. We still really need to look also at the people who are operating the systems and to make sure that they do not let the enemy in. Then, just to finalize, what is important in our business, in the wind business, there has been established some regulation. It's called NIS2, which is regulating the cyber security in the energy business and also relevant for the wind turbine business. We are meanwhile certified under NIS2, IEC and ISO-wise. Very important message. Second message, cybersecurity is not about us doing everything. Cybersecurity is a joint cooperation between the owner of the company, the suppliers of the goods of the OEM, but also BOP contractors, etc. Only if we all work together and get always the weakest point identified, so to improve it, we will be successful. And last but not least, our cyber security critical components, we get them from Europe. That means the SCADA system, that means the switchgear, that means the converter, which means the server.
Thank you very much. I want to say that Norbert really triggered me because in my institute in Romania, we always talk about security culture and cybersecurity culture as really being the weakest link in any organization, whether public, private, and so on. I want to point out some of the key elements of what our panelists have told you today. So critical infrastructure protection, resilience, the importance of resilience, resilience by design, making sure that systems are built from the ground up to be resilient, and also cooperation between stakeholders, to which I would add not just public-private cooperation, but also civilian and military cooperation. So these are quite important. I'd like to open up the questions round, exercising my moderator's right to ask the first question. I'll echo one of the questions that we received online, and I'll ask the panelists who want to intervene to give a brief answer so we can take as many questions as possible. So for the question for me is, how, from the perspective of your organization, how is the cyber threat environment evolving, and what are the main cyber threats that you are confronted with? Who'd like to respond? Please, Morten.
I can start. I can also say that I'm part of the cybersecurity board in our company, and I'm working closely with cybersecurity, and what we maybe are seeing, of course, use of AI, which is part of it, but also going over from economical to more political side of it. That is where we're seeing. We are also a company that is high on the list in Norway of attacks, and maybe the biggest change we see is from economical to political.
Mm-hmm. Any other? Please, sir.
Yeah, so in TSOs, as I said, the cybersecurity becomes more and more important because our systems become more and more reliant on IT solutions. And what is important, we do this cybersecurity on every level. So starting from procurement, what type of systems we procure and what is the security level there. There was mentioned SCADA systems and other which are very critical importance. So we also use as much as possible independent network, so we don't use public internet network, but independent network for system management. For strategic purpose, we use a special assessment tool when we can assess our capabilities on detection, protection, and establishment of the system. So what are our capabilities? And in some cases, you really need some reserve mechanisms. So you don't realize that you can fix the problem. You need replacement like in a minute or in a seconds. And of course, a very, very important part is the human management or the procedures, how people get access to the systems, how they use the systems, how much they are educated and trained to face the cyber threats if they come from outside. And what is quite important, as I said, threats is not only from the outside. Quite important, it's also how the system is built from inside. Because still, the majority of incidents, what happens not because there is some cyber attack from outside, but because there is some system failure from inside. And we have to reduce the numbers of those incidents which come from inside.
All right, please, Arjan.
Yeah, two things, and I build on what the previous speakers told. Especially in offshore wind, but also in onshore wind, you work in an IT/OT environment, and it's more and more intertwined. So it's very important, and it's more and more remote. Very important to be aware of that. These things are very hard to patch, but it's very easy to make a mistake. And then we come to human side. It's what I'd like to stress is it's very important, and it's also our experience, to build a culture where we don't blame the human. 2/3 of the errors, the incidents, come from human behavior. But if you have a culture where you don't dare to speak about the mistakes you make, then you can never learn and build real resilience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Morten, please, and then Norbert.
Yes, I completely agree with you. I think, and this is a difficult topic, and I'm glad you shared your experience with your company, is that sharing the experience within cyber attacks and showing what happened. And like you said, it's a human factor that is important. But I also wanted to build up on the OT, IT side, operational technology. On the IT side, we're good at segmenting and surveying the IT infrastructure. We should also adapt that over to the OT side and segment and do a surveillance of the OT technology in a higher extent than maybe what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm. Norbert, please.
Yeah, just a small point. Of course, hackers always try to get access to the systems, so you try to really have the highest quality of the firewalls in order to avoid that. But it happens, so it's also important that you have these levels of information, what you really can retrieve from the systems and what you really can influence. So to make it transparent, yes, potentially if a hacker would come into a wind turbine, he could stop it. Then turbine is not generating, but it's not a critical thing. But what is totally excluded, that he could start flipping parameters and could bring the turbines into overspeed, destroying them and so on, because all this is not accessible via remote. So it's also this kind of levels what information you can really access by remote. That on the other side means that some of the tasks of our service people can only be done on site in the turbine, which is the other flip side of it.
Thank you very much. Sergii, I'd like to address a question to you directly. How do you see the possibility, what would you do to improve the resilience of the energy system of systems at European level? In your experience or in your vision, what can be done to improve the overall resilience, both from cyber, physical perspective? The issue now of drones is very common.
It's a very, very good question. So, unfortunately, we have a great experience in this direction, and now we have a proposal for establishment, so-called, I think, association between the TSO from Western and Northern Europe. And during next week, we will have a special session with this TSO for establishment this possible association. The main task is creating a constant platform for exchanging the information about threats and providing real measures how to increase the resilience of our networks, our energy systems. Because for these countries, different type of military, hybrid, and also technical threats is more relevant than for any other operators. We organize our own system of risk assessment, risk mitigation, and countering threats. First of all, we start with forecasting threats because we analyze the information about our enemies, about adversary states, about the possibilities to targeting our the most important facilities. Then we have our methodology how to identify the most important facility, most important substation, and how to identify the critical elements of this substation. We also exchange this information with our neighboring TSOs, with different European and world organizations. So we work with MAGATE, with European Commission, with NATO, and we propose our own methodology how to identify the most critical elements, the most critical substation, because we can't protect everything. It's impossible for any operators. After that, we develop our own system and methodology of air protection around the most important object. I should admit that, for example, in Europe, we haven't non-flying zone around the all substation, around the all energy facilities. It's a very big problem because the legislation should reflect our efforts how to counteract different type of threats. Unfortunately, now is not enough. And we work closely with NSOE, with MAGATE, with NATO, and we provide our own approach how we need to change European legislation. You know that during this week in Ukraine was established laws about market coupling, and this law connect Ukrainian market and European market. But also in this law we have a big part dedicated to the risk preparedness. And now Ukrainian risk preparedness system and European risk preparedness system synchronized. But we need to increase the level of risk preparedness in Ukraine and in Europe. It's a very big topic for discussion. Also, we develop our own system of engineering protection of transmission facility and generation facility also. In Europe, one of the biggest challenge is protection high voltage cables between countries and the protection of shore facilities. Yes, Ukraine have some possibility to provide some measures, some military or engineering measures how to protect this facility. But if you speak about offshore facility, it's impossible to protect using only engineering measures. It needs to be protected by military units and military measures. It's also very big task for discussion, because in Europe the system of military protection, the most important energy facility, unfortunately not high developed. We can export our knowledge, we can export our systems, our models, but we need to work together. Our main idea that maintaining the stability and security of northern and eastern flank of European Union is a task for all European Union, because it's impossible to provide the security for the country with a big level of threat using only effort of this country. It's impossible. And especially when we speak about tariff company, like every TSO, it's impossible to use only tariff money to provide the security of the network, of the transmission network.
Thank you very much,
So,
Sergii.
yes,
Thank you very much. Yes?
a very big discussion.
Definitely. I'd just like to add quickly to what you mentioned. You touched on a very important issue when you said you cooperate with the EU and with NATO. There is, for instance, the agenda of cooperation between the EU and NATO on critical infrastructure protection. And related to offshore, this is quite an important topic right now. The European Defence Agency has had its own project on the coexistence between offshore wind and naval forces, which ended a few months ago. So there are quite a lot of dimensions that are being explored. First, I'd like to give the floor to Arjan, and then to Norbert, and then we'll take a question from the room. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Sergei. You touched on a whole lot of points, and I'd like to pick out one. When we go to the sharing of information is indeed very important, and under the European Energy ISAC, we have established a task force for offshore wind. And there is a trusted community now starting to share the information, which is very important. And also the role of a TSO is very important, and they can lead by example. That's, yeah.
Norbert, please.
Yeah, just very practical. A few hundred of megawatts of our turbines are running in Ukraine at the moment, and we have already been seeing turbines stop due to attacks on substations. I have seen that in Ukraine, some roads are protected with camouflage nets. So the way to go on substation protection, because this is, let's say, the core part of the wind farm, for sure would help camouflage nets. You can't protect, of course, the turbines in that way, but nobody's shooting turbine by turbine. So that's, I think, a very efficient way of doing things.
I remember in the US, there were a lot of cases where people were just literally shooting at the substations with their own guns. Morten?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention back to the supply chain within the wind parks being a vulnerability. And we believe in, I believe we're going there, but it's important to mention that the standardization on the EAC and the ISO, we talked about NIS2, but also the Cyber Resilience Act in EU. I think we need to find a common base ground for being a supplier into the offshore wind park. Yeah.
Okay, Rolands?
Yes, since substations was mentioned, and I think it's a very critical part, because as it was correctly said, it's not so easy to pick one by one wind turbine, but you can directly attack one substation where the whole wind park is connected and affect the whole wind park operations there. And therefore, we as AST as well we are investing in additional capabilities to protect and detect the threats for our substations and critical infrastructure. However, we understand that it's not possible to protect everything, as it was said from Ukrainian side. So we are reviewing our reserve capabilities and our restoration capabilities. So how fast we are able to reestablish the connection, how fast we are established and to fix the failures on damaged infrastructure if it's done. So this is a very important part. So as long as we can to protect, but we have to be realistic. You cannot protect everything all the time.
Yes, thank you very much. Do we have a question from the audience inside the room here? Please, sir, in the back. Well, wait a second for the microphone, please.
Hi, yes, so there was already a question on Slido about this. I'm just going to ask about it too. Being in the world of AI, are there any new specific maybe tools or implementations in the world of cybersecurity? Say there is an attack on a renewable energy source, and yeah, I guess that's pretty much my question.
Not specifically an answer, but we had a small research project where we tested with AI for anomaly detection. Because, for instance, with all the sensors within the turbines, you also want to see where the anomalies are, and AI can help with that. On the other hand, we've all seen examples of AI being able to make the attacks more and more easy.
Yeah, we are using AI in our operations, daily operations, more like for office workers to improve their work effectiveness and efficiency. But currently, we are also looking on our core business solutions, how we can integrate AI, because the data coming from the system is more and more, and for these automatic solutions in the system, of course, you can improve how the system works, you can improve efficiency with better analytics, which AI can provide. On the other hand, of course, it's additional threats, because AI can be used in the opposite way as well, not to help you, but also how to better target your systems. So therefore, we also have to take into account this threat as well, that it can be used against us as well. So we have to be quite careful and very well understand what we are doing with that.
Morten?
This is not directly from a cybersecurity point of view, but the use of AI from the protection of critical infrastructure we are using today. We are using historical data, for example, for AIS, and to detect anomalies of how ships are moving in and around a wind park. And if a ship is behaving unnormal as an anomaly, we are able to detect that. And also a hot topic here is dark ships and AIS spoofing. And we're also using AI to detect ships that are not transmitting AIS or other suspicious behaviors. We are using machine learning and AI.
Norbert, please.
Yes, slightly changing a bit the subject. Many of you operating assets or want to operate assets in the wind area, and of course you want the maximum protection and be assured that your wind farm will not be hacked and cyber attacked. And how is this working? So I already mentioned the NIS 2, which is somehow a norm, a standard which has been introduced, and everybody in the industry who's acting has now to follow it and has to make sure that we are compliant. And this goes in that way that the managers of my company are signing up, accounting personally for that the cybersecurity is implemented correctly, otherwise they can be fined. And this is the way how it has to be, so there's a personal accountability up in the management, so they can't overlook it or look through the window, they have to follow. And then I can only hope that all the experts here are running, like always, in front of the hackers, and if the hackers use AI to attack, you of course need to have the AI prepared to defend against AI.
I think Norbert hit the nail on the head. So you can have AI as attacker, AI as defender, or AI simply involved in your systems, which can make it a target. And for instance, we had the situation recently where a cyber attack using AI targeted not the infrastructure itself, but the billing system of the company. And by taking the billing system offline, it forced the company operations to also go offline because they couldn't perform normal business operations. So that's quite important. And people are not discussing today how important it is to have red teaming when it comes to AI, to figure out the exact, the ethical adversarial testing, to have the exact vulnerabilities of the AI system, which is very dependent on your particular infrastructure, data, context, and not just generic tabletop exercises. We have time for one final question from the audience. Please, anybody? If not, did you want to add something, Sergii? Okay,
No,
then I'll take one of the questions from online. Somebody asked about drones. So do your entities use drones in critical infrastructure protection, and how do you protect against drones? Anybody? Please, sir.
Yes, so we use drones currently for maintenance purpose, so to check the infrastructure, because we have high pylons and high power lines, so the maintenance workers can use the drones to detect failures in the system and problems, the condition. Then we are looking also forward how we can protect against the drones, because the drone threats is becoming more and more important. So we already have good cooperation with police and other services. So to better surveillance capabilities, but we plan to invest in ourselves in detection capabilities as well. And finally, we are also looking in the solutions like patrolling drones. So for example, there is some remote substation which is quite important for our system. People are not working every day there on site, and if something suspicious happens around there, you can pick up this surveillance drone and see wider picture around this substation. So there's different solutions how you can use the drones, and sometimes you can use it in combined mode as well. So probably it's dual purpose, not only one.
So Morten, and then final word to Sergii. Please, Morten.
Yeah, it's just very short that in our complete maritime picture, we develop drone radars to detect unwanted drones in around energy installations as part of the pictures in our operating centers. So we are using drone radars.
And Sergii, would you like to add something on the drone issue? Defense against drones or use of drones in critical infrastructure protection?
Yes, definitely. We now develop...
Very briefly, because we are out of time.
Okay. Yes, we use different types of drones interceptors now for protection of our energy facility, but this drone used by not TSO teams, but this drone used by our military units, and establishment the algorithm of interaction, how to use these drones for protection of different type of facility. It's also a very big task for all operators and all entities responsible for critical infrastructure protection. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the panelists for being with us today and to thank the organizers for the opportunity. Please, sir, would you like to add something?
And finally, thank you very much for a very important event and our panel. Thank you very much, speakers. But you remember, this is never 100% solution. We have it's a real experience in Ukraine, and step by step, we open new solution because war is war, and we need together discuss and use experience we receive in Ukraine.
Thank you very much. I'd like to conclude this panel by saying that we haven't solved energy resilience today between us, although we gave it our best shot, and there are a lot of angles that we still have to explore in future events, and the new complexities that are introduced by our need to ensure security of supply, our need to do the dual green digital transition, to decarbonize, and also to ensure energy resilience and affordability for consumers. Thank you very much to everybody.